Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are in the world. And welcome to another episode of Glass Half Full, a podcast and a safe platform where we talk with a variety of teachers, entrepreneurs, spiritualists, uplifters, givers, shakers, and serenaders. Everyone has a lesson to learn and a lesson to share. Let's use our life experiences to enrich someone's heart, mind, spirit, and soul. Through sharing our experiences, we can be a learning inspiration for one another. I'm your host, Chris Levens. Let's welcome today's guest. Today's guest is Erica Rooney. Erica Rooney, keynote speaker, executive coach, and chief people officer. On top of that, she is a mom, a wife, a fitness fantastic, and she is on a mission to help women get seen, get heard, and get promoted. Let's give a warm welcome to Erica Rooney.
Amen.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. How are you today?
I am fabulous. How are you?
I'm very well. Thank you for taking some time out to be a guest here on Glass Half Full. We are so happy to have you today.
Oh, likewise. I am so pumped to be here.
Yes. Can you tell everyone where you are in the world?
I am in Raleigh, North Carolina.
Yes. And what time is it now?
Early. 8:15.
She said early.
8:15 in the morning. We've just
8:15.
finished kid drop off. We are gearing up for a Friday at work. Hopefully everyone is,
Where
ready
they
for
how
the
they should
weekend.
need to be. Exactly.
Act accordingly. It's Friday. Don't bring me Monday problems today.
I like that. Well, we're going to jump right on in. I like to ask all my guests this first question. I believe that our lives are in spiritual design. Can you share your life layout or blueprint with everyone? How you grew up, where, your family lifestyle?
Absolutely. So I have a very interesting family tree, I'll tell you that. But I grew up in Florida, so with all the alligators and iguanas and whatnot, armadillos too. My husband's from New York. He thinks it's wild when I talk about just, the normal creatures that we had in our backyard.
I agree.
I grew up learning how to run away from alligators. Doesn't everybody
Oh my God.
know that? But grew up in Florida, spent my life in Florida. My parents actually were divorced when I was about 2 years old, and they both remarried when I was fairly young. So I always grew up having two sets of parents, and we all lived in the same, proximity, 30 minutes away. So I spent half the time with my mom and her husband and half the time with my dad and his wife. Went to college where I was born. So Gainesville, Florida, University of Florida.
Nice.
And I got into fitness and wellness there. I have one older brother. He's only 20 months older than me. So we grew up very, very close. But went to University of Florida, got both my bachelor's and my master's degree there. And immediately after started working for Verizon in North Carolina, where I live today, in health and wellness, and absolutely loved it. Remembered having this thought of I can't believe I found the career I'm going to retire from at the age of 24.
Wow.
I remember having that thought. Well, we clearly know that's not where I am today. And for me with Verizon, it was a really great experience. I spent about 8 years of my life there, got into management, and actually met my husband at Verizon. It's a huge company. So met him, we got married, we had baby number one. And I really kind of felt like I hit my ceiling and didn't know what to do because I was 28 years old. I'm capped out at 28. So I started trying to figure out what the heck I wanted to do with my life. And I had no idea because I'd been in fitness and wellness for so long. And just started throwing stuff at the wall to see what would stick. And I looked at project management. I got my PMP certification, which is not easy to get. And I was like, I don't really want to be a project manager. So then I started looking at HR And the reason I started looking at HR was because the reason I was so passionate about health and wellness was because I loved to help people. I was helping people reach their health and fitness goals, feel better about themselves, recover from pregnancy, recover from, injury, and being able to get up and down off the floor and play with their kids. Like I could see this thing that I was doing, and I was so passionate about it. But again, unless you're going to be Oprah's personal trainer, like there's only so far you can go. And I had no connections with Oprah, so I wasn't going to hang my hat on that dream. And I got into HR, and I was in a call center environment, which if you're not familiar with a call center environment, it's usually, lower to middle income class people who do not have the privilege of having financial security, right? And I was getting to help people grow their careers, learn how to make more money, get into management, get more financially dependent. And so I really felt amazing about being in HR because I was able to pull this passion of helping people from health and fitness into the careers through HR. So I was like, this is awesome. So I absolutely loved it. But again, that growth mindset problem that I have kicked in. And so I started to climb the corporate ladder. And in about, 8 or 10 years or so, I climbed all the way to the top, made it to the C-suite. And that's where I am today. And I love it, but it has shifted from helping individuals to helping organizations.
Wow.
Right. So now I'm looking at EBITDA, I'm looking at revenue, I'm talking strategy and scalability and growth, which is super interesting, but it is so far removed from helping that individual. And, yes, I'm keeping all of these people employed because I'm looking at the organization, but I really missed connecting with individuals one-on-one. And that's what got me into executive coaching. And I love working with women because being a female myself in corporate America with 2 little kids, women just have an uphill battle. And I really wanted to work with women who were kind of fighting the same battle that I was, trying to figure out how they could do it all while having a family, a successful career, and not feeling like they were being pulled into. And so that's when I started my other business. I do not call it a side hustle because it is so much more than that, but it is my true business versus my day job of being a chief people officer. And I work with women to help them get seen, get heard, and get promoted. Wow. So phew.
Girl, you're busy. You're busy.
I'm doing all the things. That's what I tell people, all the things.
Wow, my gosh. And on top of that, you're a mom. How many children do you have?
I have 2. They are 4 and 7. So we are in it to win it.
Oh, yeah, y'all. Okay, you're busy. You're busy. We're making lunches and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. Okay.
Making lunches, trying to get them to act right, doing all the things. That's the hardest part about being a parent at this age, is trying to get them to act right.
Well, you know what? You put it, you instill it in them as a child of a parent, it does stick. It does stick. They come back to it. So,
but you got to do the work. You got to do the work.
On every level, You're right about that. Wow. Okay. So, and on top of that, you have a podcast.
I do.
Can you tell us about that?
That's where a lot of it started, actually. And I'd always been told I should start a podcast because I love to talk to people. I'm a connector at heart, but I didn't know what I wanted to talk about. And then I had all those, questions of like, well, who's going to listen to me? And I don't even know what I'm doing. And then I finally was like, Erica, why are you questioning yourself? Like, what are you even doing here? And I just kind of went out and I talked to somebody who I was a guest on their podcast. And I was like, look, I could spend hours doing the research to try to figure out how to start a podcast, or I could just call you because you've done it. So tell me all the things you know. And this individual so graciously gave me all this information. And I was like, I'm just going to do it. And I started talking with women. And the whole premises of my podcast is talking with women in executive or director level roles about their sticky floors and how they busted out of the sticky floors to break through the glass ceiling. And sticky floors are those limiting beliefs like perfectionism, imposter syndrome. And they're also some of the things that we do that are in our control, like toxic behaviors, toxic relationships that keep us weighted down, right? So what do we need to do? And what did these individual women do to break free from those sticky floors to bust through the glass ceiling?
All right now. Ooh. Okay, we're going to come back to the sticky floors and the glass ceilings a little bit later on. Definitely. Yes, yes. Okay, wow. So there's a lot going on in Erica's life.
Amen.
How do you maintain good mental health with being so busy and having all these things or giving so much of yourself? How do you take time for yourself?
Absolutely. And this is a big piece of it because full transparently, like I have struggled with my mental health in the past because I have poured into everyone's cup before I poured into mine. And so I do see a therapist. I meet with her weekly. She keeps me in check and make sure, yes, that I am focusing on myself, that I am celebrating my wins, that I am, doing the things that I need to do to take care of myself. But I am very big into fitness, and that is very much a release for me. So I make sure that I'm getting a little bit of movement every day. And I will hang my hat on this. Sleep is so important. So I am like a follower to my sleep routine. Like I go to bed, I got some little Bose earbuds that I plug in so nobody bugs me, and I get into my Zen mode. So sleep, working out well, and talking to a therapist, all piece of the mental health puzzle.
I love that. How many hours of sleep are we getting?
Oh, well, last night I got 9. I don't know how that happened, but normally 8.
Okay. Wow. Okay. That's good. I'm usually good on 5 or 6.
I wish I could, because then I would have so many more hours in the day. But I need a good 8. I need a good 8.
Well, with all that you're doing, you get those 8 hours. This is a chance for the body to really rest since you're in a lot of movement going down. Oh my gosh. Wow. I want to ask you, who has been the most influential person in your life?
Oh gosh. I have been fortunate that I've had a lot of really great mentors in my career and in my life. And I don't feel like I have one person. I feel like I have a good, solid 5 or 10 people that have all taught me really like a solid life lesson, So like my mother was a big one. She always taught me, like, you need to be financially secure. You as a woman need to get out there, make sure you have an education because nobody can take that away from you. Make sure that you are financially secure so that you don't need to rely on anyone. So that was a big piece of like my puzzle and going to school and climbing the corporate ladder.
Great advice.
But then the other person that stands out to me was actually my N+1 a couple jobs ago. He was the VP of HR and legal when I was still climbing the corporate ladder. And he was a true advocate. He was more than a mentor. He was an advocate. He was the person that would put you in the room, that really kind of taught you to think strategically and get you to look so many places ahead. And at that time, I didn't realize that he was an advocate. I saw him as a mentor. But now that I'm in the place that I'm in, I was like, wow, he really paved the way for me to look at growth differently.
Wow.
So I think those are my 2 faves.
Oh, he'd be happy to know that you've even put his name out there. That's nice.
Yeah.
Well, we never know what impression that we are leaving on someone, and education and learning, all of this is so powerful that we are stained by the way that we learn something, the way you learn it, incorrect or correct. But it makes an impression on our lives. So that's really nice to hear that, as well as your mom. Bless the mothers. I love that.
Bless the mothers, yeah. They are doing the most. They are doing the most.
Okay, they are definitely, and still have enough to put a smile on their face. So that is, that's huge. That's huge. This is for you, moms.
Love it.
That's for you, moms. Awesome. Can I ask you, are you living in your purpose?
Recently, yes. I would say as of recently, yes. When I really got back to doing the coaching and working with women one-on-one, yes. Because before that, when I was just doing organizational stuff, I felt very lost and I felt very conflicted. Like, this is what I'm going to be doing for the rest of my life. Like, this is where it is. And it
you weren't fulfilled.
Wasn't, yeah. And I wasn't sleeping good and I was stressed out and I was taking it out on, those closest to me and still putting in these crazy long hours. And when I really opened the business and started the podcast and started connecting with women who are looking to have this balanced life and do it all, then I felt connected to my purpose. And what I love to say is, like, you can't unring the bell. And
I've never heard it put like that, but that's good.
Can't unring the bell. And when I took on this one woman as a client, and I think I had to meet with her like some weird, like Sunday night at 5:00. And originally I was mad at myself that I had scheduled something on Sunday at 5, but the hour flew by and I was so happy and so lit up after that session. And I was like, Erica, you have to take that as your signal that this is what you're meant to do.
Wow. That's an awakening moment.
You got to pay attention to what the universe is showing you. So that was a huge moment for me. Yeah. And so now, to answer your question, now I do. But that is, I would say that's a recent development.
Wow. I love that. Well, this is how it's supposed to be, is that we're continuing to grow, so absolutely. At any age, we should be learning. So ideally, just to have that, like, wow, that's great. Do you feel, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, you have to remember that, like, you are going to go through so many seasons of your life and all of those things are going to change, and your passion and your purpose can shift, right? So, like, I felt very fulfilled and lit up when I was doing health and wellness, but then it got to a point where that season needed to end and it no longer served me. And now I've kind of made it back full circle where I'm back to helping people, which is the root of my purpose, but in a completely different capacity. So I would just really encourage everybody to embrace the changing of the seasons and recognize the ebb and the flow, but listen for when that bell rings. You gotta listen.
I love it. Yes, you got to listen. Definitely, you got to listen. Or be in a place in your life where you're able to hear.
Yes.
Where you've learned to be able to listen. So yeah, you're right. Because it's going to ring. Can you hear it? It's going to be it's the question.
And it might slap you over the head, but
sometimes this is what happens, right? Sometimes it's that, like, oh, you didn't hear me? Let me trip you down these stairs. You know what I mean? Like, it's that full, like, throw you right into it. So yes. Wow. Can I ask you, what is your process when working with a new client? Is it possible to give us an example, like what would happen with meeting with someone and what would happen and what would you talk about with them?
Yeah. So I always do like an initial session, just that's us spending time together, much like this, talking, to make sure that we jive, to make sure that we like mesh well, because not every executive coach out there is a good fit for every person. Right.
All right. Now.
And I don't want to take somebody on that we're not going to have a rapport. We're not going to click. So I always do a session in the beginning, which is just totally free of charge. It's like, let's talk. What brought you to me, right? What are you thinking is the problem? Let's chat about it. And once we both feel comfortable getting to know each other, once I feel confident that I can help them with something, then we make this agreement, we sign up, and I have them do an intake form where I have them rate what areas of their life they want to focus on most and their career at the same time, right? So it's executive presence, work-life balance, communication. There are all these different layers, and they rate them 1 to 10. And I do that so that on our first big session, we can kind of chat about it. And we get in there, and it's interesting because sometimes we don't follow that pattern. Sometimes they put down on paper what they think looks right. And then when we start talking, it's not really where the conflict is. We work through the conflicts and we talk about ways to grow and develop and how to handle situations differently, because I believe that you gain experience and knowledge through living those experiences. We always say, like, oh, I wouldn't have done that, or I would have done this. You don't know until you're in that experience what you would do. It's so often like people are like, oh, I should have said this. And I'm like, see, like we just don't know how we're going to respond. So they'll come to me weekly and we kind of talk about the week. Is there anything that like they want to go into? And, then we learn. We kind of try to reframe the situation and maybe what happened and how they could handle it next. So it's all a growth process.
Wow. Okay. And so step by step, you guys are finding, basically you're helping to teach them how to basically understand what's happening with them and understanding themselves and the situations that are happening. In
a real, like, short way, I teach them how to do life.
Wow, that's
life in corporate, life in momming. We teach life because you just don't know. And, people sometimes ask like, how long do I need an executive coach and things like that? And you can do short stints, but truthfully, like you could have one forever because different circumstances will always come up. So it just depends on how open you are to growing and how much you want that person to help reflect and bring about different concepts and ideas because they're a neutral party. They will help you look and identify where you did really well, but like, maybe I shouldn't have done that, but in a productive way.
Wow. That's very interesting. And so would you say that when you take on new clients and you're starting to do the work, is their work like, how do you assess that that things are moving or things they're grasping what's being understood or that you are?
Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah. So I actually have them do like a rating scale on a 1 to 10 on whether it's confidence, on how they feel about their executive presence, different work-life balance. Are they feeling as if they can maintain the two? And we monitor from their starting point of where they feel. And then, is it getting better? Is it getting worse? Because depending on what life throws at you, like if you're feeling really good about your work-life balance, in 2021, and then you have a baby in 2022, that might blow up because you've got new things you've got to learn and process and work through.
So true.
Yeah. So we just that's how we assess it because it's an internal gauge. And then sometimes, like, let's say if it's a project more so, and they're like, I want to get through this project and work through it. We assess how they feel at the beginning, how they assess in the middle, and then also at the end. And we take learning steps of like almost unpacking it, right? What did you do well? What would you have done differently? When this comes about in the future, how would you attack it? And then we kind of get a game plan because again, you learn through doing, you learn through experience. Yes. So they work through that. And when it comes back, now they know.
Okay. I like it. What advice would you want to give to someone who wanted to pursue this field that maybe wasn't given to you?
Start earlier. Just start. It is such a need. And there are so many people out there who can learn from you, right? Like so often we have this like, well, what do I have to give? Like, why would somebody listen to me? And all of us are unique and have these experiences that, somebody may not connect with me, but they're going to connect with you. And so just start. Don't question your skills and abilities. Just start.
I love that. That's good. Yeah, just start. Just do it. Because sometimes, we can be thinking about doing something for years and never do it. Folks thinking about going on a trip to Jamaica, but they ain't never been. You know what I mean? Like it's this. So just
Absolutely.
Do it. Just make it happen. I like that. I'm that type of person. Just get out there. You can always clean it up. You can always reshape it, but just make it happen. And,
look, you cannot get better at something if you're not doing it.
Okay. Yes.
I mean, I know that's like basic knowledge, but like you cannot get better at being an executive coach if you are not being an executive coach. You cannot get better at hosting a podcast if you don't got a podcast. So all of these things, like you're not going to be amazing out of the gate, right? Like 9 times out of 10, we got to work and perfect and iterate.
And that's how you learn.
And so just start.
Yeah, I agree. That's it. And this is how we learn. Just doing.
Amen.
Just doing.
Yep.
I want to talk a little bit about being stuck in the middle. What does this mean to you, being stuck in the middle?
We are 90% of us right now are in the middle. Okay.
Let's talk about it.
Let's talk about it. And I like to compare this a lot to running a half marathon. And I pick a half marathon because that's the race that I run. Marathons are too long.
Wow, sorry, you better do it. The half, when they put the word marathon, I'm done. It just sounds long.
Yeah. But I like to think about, like, when you are starting a half marathon, a race, right? Mm-hmm. You're like pumped up. The bands are there. They're playing. It's super fun. Like, everybody's hyped up. And that's how it is at the time you do anything new. It's exciting. You're like super jazzed about it. You're lit up. And then you get to like mile 5 and you're like questioning life. Why did I do this? You're still stepping, you're still going forward, but you're questioning why you signed up. This is tough. Isn't 5 enough? 5 is enough. Can I stop there? And you're going through it, and it takes a long time, right? You're only at that starting point for 30 seconds, but you are in the middle the bulk of the time, and you are doing the work. And that's when it's hard, right? Because you can't necessarily see the progress. You are literally putting in the reps. You are taking the steps, and you're questioning your reasoning for doing this. And I feel very stuck in the middle sometimes when I'm working on my business and I'm doing my chief people officer stuff, and I'm doing all of these things, right? And I don't know that I'm seeing the growth. But what I love to also equate it to is I imagine that I am standing in the middle of a whole bunch of, like, those domino trains where if you knock one down, they all fall.
Yes.
I imagine that I'm standing in the middle of those, and I've got a bunch of singular dominoes that I'm just like tapping, and, sometimes it's like one domino, sometimes it's 4, but there is a domino train out there that is just going to be like, and is going to take you somewhere amazing. But you've got to keep doing the work in the middle, because when you're running that race, as long as you keep putting that foot in front of the other, as long as you keep tapping down those domino trains, you're going to get to the end where it's the celebration and it's super amazing. And you understand why you did the work, why you put in the reps. But for the majority of it, we're in the middle and it's hard.
Wow. That's a great analogy. Really, really great. Yeah. And it's true. Like, yeah, you're right. It get a little thick sometimes in the middle, Thank you for your honesty about that. I appreciate you sharing that. Wow.
Yeah, it can be real tough.
Right? It's true. It's true. The start is so quick. Is so quick. And yeah.
Well, and so often people who have this growth mindset and are very focused on, continuing to move forward, they get to the end and they don't even like take the trophy, right? They're just like on to the next site. Yeah. I did a half marathon. Let me do a full. Let me do an ultra. Let me do this. But like, let's pause and take a minute to really celebrate what you have accomplished.
Yes.
And revel in that, because it is a short period of time. And then you're on to doing the work again. Mm-hmm. So take that moment to really like just celebrate and be pumped about what you accomplished.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the celebrating is part of it. It's part of it. And we need to have that moment, like you say, to breathe and just take a moment to relish in what has been done and seize the moment. I think a lot of times people aren't really in the moment, or they miss the moment because of something else that they are, putting their sights on. So just having that chance to relish in the victory, I think that's great and nicely put.
Absolutely. Yeah. And celebrate the tiny things that you are accomplishing as you go. Because those little tiny things that may not seem big are the little nuggets of fuel to get you to the end.
Yes. Nicely put.
All the wisdom.
Do you think this is kind of what people would say, like the midlife crisis? Folks are like, oh, midlife crisis. This sense of feeling like they've come to something they're not sure what to do with their life, or is that, you think this is counted as being stuck in the middle as well, or differently?
I think midlife crisis can be a bit different, because I think when you're doing midlife crisis, you have just set your sights on like the what you shoulds have done. I should go to school. I should get married and have 2.5 kids. I should get a dog and a white picket fence and right? Mm-hmm. And you're doing all the things that you should be doing. And then you get to a point and something wakes you up where you realize it's not really what I wanted to be doing. And maybe you recognize that you're not connecting with your purpose and that you finally have slowed down enough to realize that you aren't necessarily fulfilled.
Yes.
And that can be a really hard wake-up call. My mom was an oncology cancer nurse for years, and she would tell me all these stories about people waiting, until retirement or waiting for a certain point where they were going to go on a trip or travel the world or do something exciting. And then they find out they have a terminal illness.
Oh my
gosh. How tragic. And so I always try to work with people to do those things now, because we all know this, that life is not guaranteed. Yes. Tomorrow is not promised for us. And that may be the sensible thing to do, but we don't know what sensible is, right? So if we knew, sensible would have been to take the trip 20 years ago. Right? Like that would have been the sensible thing.
You're right about that, right?
Yeah, I think midlife crisis is finally when people slow down enough to realize that maybe it isn't what they wanted to do all along.
The life choice is really not, we're in alignment on really what they've been doing.
Well, society pushes such a momentum when you're at a very pivotal point in your life, right? You should go to school. You should, get your degrees and get a good job. And it's very much this forward momentum, right? Of I almost imagine it like this rolling ball down a hill where you get so wrapped up in the beginnings of all of these things, beginning of a job, beginning of a marriage, motherhood, whatever, that when it finally kind of stabilizes and you're in the middle, if you're not paying attention, you might have started a race you didn't mean to start.
All right now. So true. So true. Wow.
Pay attention. Pay attention to what you're doing.
Yes, pay attention. Pay attention. I love it. Let me ask you, what tips do you have to help everyday people become better humans?
Believe the best in people. That is my number one go-to.
Wow. Let's talk on it.
Believe the best in people, right? 99% of people are here to do good things, to do good work, to be good humans. But we all have bad days, right? Yes. And I yelled at my kids like a banshee yesterday, right? Like, that's not the kind of mom I want to be. And if somebody saw that snippet of my life, they would have been like, oh, but realize that most people are trying to do the right thing too. And they are acting, according to whatever's going on in their life and according to their beliefs and experiences. So you have to kind of believe the best in people. And if something's not jiving with you right, if somebody doesn't respond to you in a way they think they should have, if you're disagreeing with somebody, I ask you to be more curious about what's going on rather than to be judgmental, right? What is making this person respond in this way? Why are they acting this way? Why would they believe that? What can I learn from this? Rather than just being like, oh, this person is driving me crazy. So for me to be a better human would be to believe the best in people.
Wow. And for yourself, of you doing this, when did you come up with this realization?
This, believe it or not, was an HR realization. So while I have been in HR working on conflict resolution with people, I talk with both sides individually. And when I would hear why they were acting a certain way, why they responded. It was taking them out of the moment that was the conflict and diving deeper. And then I would talk to the other person, and I would hear their side, and I could see both sides of the story. So when I would bring them together, I started by saying, we have to believe the best in each other, right? Like, let's just set that precedence. You are both here to do good work. You both want to do a good job. You both want, whatever the end goal is. So let's start with that in mind. And now let's talk about what happened. And setting the stage in that way brings people back to like, okay, you're right. We are here for the same goal. And then we could dig a little bit deeper. So that's really where that resonated and started with me.
Wow. Wow. HR, give it. Okay.
Yeah, for the win.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. I mean, ideally in feeling for that, yeah, we want to see the best in people, at least try to see the best, at least give them the chance, the option to, until they, I mean, even when they do act up, I guess we're still supposed to be trying to see the best in them, but at least starting off with seeing the best, like at least start off that way. If you can't maintain it, it's fine.
Then you can go to the left and just keep it trucking, right? Because not everybody is for you, and you're not going to jive for everybody. You are not a buffet. You're not here to serve everyone.
I know that's right.
But somebody else likes that crab rangoon. You don't have to eat the crab rangoon if you don't want it.
Leave it on the table. Leave it on the tray.
Leave it on the table. Pass it on back.
I love it. Yes. You're right, though. You're right. It's not going to be for everybody. It's not everybody's cup of tea. So.
Amen.
Yes. Okay, I want to go back a little bit, and I want to talk a little bit more about the sticky floors and glass ceilings. So this is the analogy. This is your analogy that you've come up with, right? Or is this something that you have worked with someone to develop and understand?
No, I can't tell you where it popped into my head, but it popped into my head one day, and it was such a powerful visual for me. And I tested it with a bunch of other women that I was working with, and they were like, yes, I resonate with this. And that's kind of how I ran with it. Okay.
Can you give us a little more in-depth talk about this? How has it helped the women that you are working with or that you have worked with?
Yeah. So being a woman in the world is wild, right? We're told to lean in, but not too far. We're told to speak up, but not too loudly. We're told to be assertive, but not be a bee. Okay. So we have all these conflicts. And the biggest one of all is we're told to work like we don't have kids, but be a mom like we don't have a job. So it is extremely challenging to be a woman in the workplace, and we're underpaid, right? If you are looking, we're underpaid is 83 cents to the dollar, and that's only white women, right? People of color, minorities, LGBTQ plus are even lower. So it's bananas. And according to the World Economic Forum, we are not going to see equal pay for approximately 132 years.
Oh my gosh.
So I'm gonna be dead. Right? So like, there's no way around that. So and this was where I started thinking about it. I'm like, I'm never going to see that. My daughter's never going to see that. So what can I do for myself, for my daughter to move forward? And that's kind of how I viewed it. It's like, what can we do to get out of the sticky floors that we can control to bust through the glass ceiling? There are going to be some things that we absolutely just cannot change, except for with the passing of generations and the passing of time. We have to accept that. But there are things that we can do to move the needle and things that we can do to change. And so I like to focus on that because a little bit of me is a control freak. So I focus on what I can control. And I can focus on my daily actions. I can focus on how I show up at work. I can focus on how I move the needle. So when I work with women in that capacity, it helps them to feel as if they have control. They don't have to feel so just like, I've got to give up. There's nothing I can do to control this. It's going to be 132 years. That's no way to live. So it just gives them something to focus on where they can move the needle in their lives to progress their careers, feel balanced, feel like they can be a mom that does it all.
Now, is the sticky floor representing the issue? It's representing what's holding them back, right?
Yes, the internal issue, whether that is somebody who struggles with imposter syndrome or someone who struggles with perfectionism. So I'll use like perfectionism in a story that I love to share when I talk about my perfectionism is being a fitness fanatic. Like I knew that 30 minutes of like cardio activity was important every single day and strength training. So I unconsciously formed this belief that if I didn't get 30 minutes of cardio plus strength training, like it wasn't worth it. Don't even worry about it. My husband would come up to our home gym and he'd be like, I got 15 minutes. I got to bust it out. And I remember looking at him being like, you are an idiot. 15 minutes isn't going to do anything. But then I was sitting on my butt, not doing any exercise because I didn't have a whole hour. So then over 3 days, he's got 45 minutes of exercise in and I didn't do anything. Right? So he's making progress towards a goal. I'm not, So it was about kind of looking at that sticky floor and trying to say like, okay, and this is how I have people approach it. They have to name it, which can be very hard. They have to say like, okay, I'm stuck in this process of believing that if I don't do 30 minutes of cardio, it's not worth it. The second step is questioning that. Is that true? No, because it is better to get some movement than none, right? If you had a goal of saving $100 and I gave you 20, would you be like, sorry, Erica, I don't want that. It's not $100. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. So it's not true. It's definitely not helpful. You can ask other questions, to dive deeper depending on the issue. But like those are the two big ones. Is it true? Is it helpful? And then it's about the mindset shift, right? It's about saying, okay, Erica, you now know that it is not true and it is not helpful. So let's work on shifting it. Is getting some better than none? Yes.
Yes.
All right. Should I, do a little bit, or should I just wait until I have time? Probably not a great idea. So yes, some is better than none. Let's start there. And so I actively try to go through that process, often with myself, because for 8 years I lived in this fitness and wellness world where that's what I did. So you're not going to solve that or undo that work in a day. And I honestly have to talk to myself on a regular basis to say like, okay, Erica, no, you're not going to get your full standard workout in, but like you can do something to move that needle. So that's like the whole sticky floor process.
Wow. And so the glass ceiling.
The glass ceiling in this case would be whatever your health and fitness goal is, right? So it doesn't necessarily have to be C-suite, right? Which is what we talk about when we talk about corporate America and the glass ceiling. But the glass ceiling is this state of being that you want to be in, that you want to live. Whether that is a true C-suite spot, or maybe it's just that you want to be a healthy person. What does a healthy person do? They get in some movement over none.
True. You're right.
Don't let those beliefs hold you back, because you let that belief hold you back for a whole year, it's going to be real hard to get started.
So true. And all that other things to come into a life on top of that will definitely hold you back, Absolutely.
It'll
be like those people who don't do anything, waiting until, retirement to go on that vacation. It's like
waiting until something's perfect, right? And all of those things hold us back, and women face these unique sticky floors per se in corporate America because they've been ingrained to think like, I should make it nice. I shouldn't ask for a bigger raise, or I should make it nice. I'll bring the cupcakes and take the notes in the meetings, which is unpromotable work. Right. And they do different things like that do hold them back over time. So you have to question your beliefs on what you're doing every single day, what you've learned. How do you unlearn that?
Wow. Yeah, right.
It's everyday work. Everyday work.
I love that. I love the analogy. It's so great. So great. Can I ask you yes, you're very welcome. You're very welcome. Yeah. What do you hope to be doing in the future with your business?
Ooh, you know what? I hope to be.
And we're not talking about the corporate, because if you're already at the top, then you at the top.
I'm at that, yep.
Unless you're gonna.
Yeah, we're talking about. I really want to show up on more keynote stages so that I can reach more people.
Have you done any TED Talks?
I have not done a TED Talk yet, so that is on my bucket list. But it is also to show up in all of these different places to share this concept, because it's so powerful for people. It was so powerful for me that, like, you touch one person, you don't know the ripple effect.
So true.
So for me, what is next in my business and what I want to do is I want to be up on more stages sharing this message so that I can change lives.
Yes, we want you up there too. Definitely. I love it. Can I ask you, what is your greatest wish?
Oh gosh, you know what? To get to the end of my life with no regrets.
Oh, wow.
To get to the end of my life with no regrets.
Mm. I love that. Now that's good.
We're all going there, one way or the other. That's where we're all going.
Well, do you have regrets now?
Mm.
Okay, you answered it. Okay.
I know, right? I think everybody does, but then it's like, what do you do with that?
Girl,
right?
I just be like, you just got to let it go, right? You just got to I got to keep going,
Well, you got to keep going. You got to learn from it.
That's the key,
right?
learning from it.
You got to figure out how to do better and how to do different as you move forward, because everything you do in life is a lesson.
So true.
Right? You just have to be open to listening to it and to then changing how you respond.
I like that. Wow. Yes. Because everybody is going to be responding differently. But being open, that's huge. Because then you can receive. You can't get anything with closed hands. They say with closed fists, or just anything just being closed off in general. You can't, And
you ask, like, if I have any regrets right now, like, I think everybody should also really realize that you have time to make it right or to change the course. Like, if you regret not taking the trip, go take the trip.
Yeah.
If you regret not saying sorry to somebody, go say you're sorry. What is feeling you about, right?
Yes, so it's so true.
Today, if you are upright and listening and hearing this and breathing, like, you have the time to make a difference and make a change, right?
So true. Just go and do it.
So get off your batocamus and go do it.
Yes. Go do it. That's great. I like to close with this final question to all of my guests. Is your glass half empty or half full?
Oh, my glass overrunneth. My glass is absolutely half full.
I love it. Yes. I mean, hearing with all that you're saying, yes. It's enough to feel that it's there. Is it you said it's running over, so it's full over.
I am a huge believer in the practice of gratitude and really recognizing all the things we have to be thankful for. And even in the hardest of times and the most challenging of times, I have things in my life that people are wishing for, right? I have my health. My kids are healthy. It's huge.
Yes.
My parents live right around the corner. They help me with my children. Like, I have so many blessings in my life and I believe in focusing on that, because you have the choice to look at those things and recognize, or to not, and I don't want to be that way.
Yeah, I hear you.
Absolutely.
I love it. Do you have any final thoughts for our listeners?
My final thought would be the question that I ask myself whenever I am feeling stuck. And that's, are you acting with courage? Because usually if you are not doing the thing that you want to be doing, it's because you are scared or fearful and you're not acting with courage. So are you acting with courage today?
Oh, I love that. Yes. Can you tell everyone how they can reach you if they're interested to find out a little more about you?
Absolutely. If you are loving what you hear today, you can find me with my podcast. It's called From Now to Next. It is wherever you are listening to this podcast. So head on over there, give it a follow. And then also, I'm super responsive on LinkedIn. I love connecting with people on LinkedIn. So if you want to chat, just send me a message. Let me know you heard me on this podcast. I would love to chat.
Awesome. And we have your LinkedIn tree address.
Amen. That's all the things.
Yes, which will be put in underneath the link as well. They'll be able to find all of that. And your podcast information as well will be listed there.
Yes.
Excellent. Oh, thank you so much for taking some time out to be a guest here on Glass Half Full. We appreciate you. We love the message that you're sharing. It's so great that you could just how you have lived in one life and decided to feel that there was more, and what you're doing and the work that you're doing is great. And it's nice to hear the advocate for women, like things.
Hey, we gotta bring them up.
Yeah, it's true, because they're really doing a hard work. And I was raised in a single parent home, and my mom is an amazing woman, and I take my hat off to the moms who really, if you care and love your children, you're doing a major job. So that in itself is a work that is a priceless work, because there is not enough money to to pay the moms for doing their hard work.
Not.
So yeah,
there is not. That is for sure.
I love that. I love that for the advocate. Thank you so much. We wish you a great and grand day and a great weekend.
Amen. You too.
Thank you. Thank you so much. You take care.
Bye.
Bye. And thank you to all our listeners listening in to another episode of Glass Half Full, a podcast and a safe platform for everyone to share their life experiences. Once again, I'm your host, Chris Levens. Please subscribe, follow, and rate this podcast on Apple Music and Spotify for more learning experiences. Until next time, know you are blessed. See ya!